Okay, if you're a content creator, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. February 2026. You wake up, you check your analytics, and it's just a flat line. A total deafening silence where a huge flood of traffic used to be. The Google Discover update hit, and it hit hard. And for a lot of people, it felt like a complete mystery. Well, today, we're going to solve it. You know, this quote from Soft Tech Alert just nails the feeling, doesn't it? A cliff where yesterday's traffic used to be. It's so perfect. One day, you have this steady, reliable stream of visitors, and the very next, it's just an unsettling quiet. And this wasn't just a small dip. For many, it was a complete free fall. No warning, no penalty notice in your email, just gone. So how in the world do we make sense of this? Well, we've got a really clear roadmap for today. First, we're going to talk about that traffic cliff. Then we'll investigate the update itself because it was a special one. After that, we are going to unpack the 3 huge changes Google made. And most importantly, we'll finish with a concrete action plan you can literally start using today. All right, let's start with section 1, the Discover Traffic Cliff. Let's really get into the problem that so many websites woke up to that morning. Okay, here is the most crucial thing to understand right off the bat. This was not a penalty. A penalty is something you get a notice for in Search Console. This was totally different. What happened was Google activated a whole new set of, let's say, sharper filters. Your content wasn't being punished, it was just being filtered out by a brand new set of rules. So that brings us to section 2, the Discover Only update. Let's pull back the curtain and investigate what was really going on behind the scenes at Google. And this timeline, this right here, reveals the critical clue. Check this out. There were 2 completely separate updates happening at the same time. On February 1st, a broad core update started rolling out that hit your normal search rankings. But then on the 5th, the Discover update went live and it was completely separate. This is the key. If your search traffic was totally fine but your Discover traffic just vanished into thin air, this is exactly why. They were 2 different events. And this was honestly a historic moment. We've been getting core updates for search for years, right? But this was the first time ever that Google announced a core update exclusively for Discover. The signal Google is sending here is crystal clear. Discover isn't just some side project or an extension of search anymore. It's its own mature, standalone product with its own unique rulebook. SEO expert Barry Schwartz really drove this point home. By giving Discover its own dedicated update, Google is basically telling all of us creators, you have to treat this platform differently now. The old strategies that win you points in search won't automatically work here anymore. So let's get into the revelations. Section 3, Honesty over Clickbait. This is the first big change, and trust me, it is a big one. This is the million-dollar question every publisher needs to be asking themselves. And it's not just about avoiding the really obvious scammy tricks. No, it's about a fundamental shift in how you frame your content from the very beginning. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. The old way, right, it relied on what we call the curiosity gap. We've all seen these headlines a million times. You won't believe this one secret. The new priority is total clarity. A title like How to Improve Your Garden Soil Using Compost is honest, it's direct. What you're doing is trading a cheap, easy click for genuine user trust. And that's the currency now. And it's not just about the titles. Google's new filters are way smarter now. They're looking for signs of authenticity. They're actively pushing down content that feels engineered or just emotionally flat. I mean, think about it. If your site uses the exact same boring template and the same bland stock photo for every single article, what signal are you sending? You're screaming low-effort, repetitive content, and that is exactly what this update is designed to filter out. All right, on to section 4, niche expertise wins. The second big revelation is all about proving you're an expert, what we call topical authority. So this example actually comes directly from Google, and it is so telling. On the left, you've got this massive movie site that writes a single random article about gardening. But on the right, you've got a smaller local news site that has a dedicated gardening section they've been writing for years. The new system asks, who is the real expert here? And it rewards the site with proven long-term expertise, even if it's a much smaller site overall. This right here is the new mindset you need to have. It's not about old-school metrics like domain authority anymore. It's about relevance and trust on a specific topic. The new question Discover is asking is, does this site belong in this particular reader's world? This is a massive game changer, and it truly levels the playing field for smaller, expert-driven sites. Now for Section 5, the locality filter. The third and final revelation has some huge implications, especially if you're an international publisher. Let's break this down because it's pretty simple but really important. Before this update, a publisher anywhere in the world could write about a US topic and pop up in a US user's Discover feed. No problem. Now, Google is heavily prioritizing local relevance. It would much rather show a user in the US content from a US-based publisher, even if an international site is covering the exact same story. So who wins and who loses in this new world? Well, the biggest negative impact, by far, is on those non-US publishers who are targeting the American market. And who are the big winners? Local news and niche creators. They're getting a huge boost from these new expertise and locality filters. And to nobody's surprise, the content farms that just pump out clickbait and shallow articles are getting pushed out. Okay, that brings us to our final section, your action plan. We've investigated the mystery, we've identified the changes. Now for the most important part, what you need to do right now. Here it is, your 5-step action plan. Number 1, separate your data. You absolutely have to monitor your Discover traffic independently from your search traffic to see the real picture. 2, audit your headlines. Be ruthless. Get rid of any sensationalism and replace it with total clarity. 3, build depth. Double down on what you're truly an expert in and prove it. 4, use better visuals. Ditch the generic stock photos and use compelling, unique images instead. And finally, number 5, boost your EEAT. That's experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. These are the signals that prove to Google you're a real, credible source worth showing to its users. So let's end on this thought right here. This update wasn't a punishment. It was really just a clarification. You see, Discover has always been a kind of mirror, reflecting what audiences truly find valuable. All this update did was make that mirror sharper, more focused. So the final question you really need to ask yourself is this. When a user looks at your content, what does that mirror reflect back?